Bakalım bu video neymiş, neyin nesiymiş, neyin nesi değilmiş. Ay.
Creepy accounts pretending to be.
Alt yazıyı da açtım. Anlamayacak kardeşler için. Alt yazıyı açamamışım.
Creepy accounts pretending to be kids. I came across a real
Çocuk gibi davranan tüyler ürpertici hesaplar.
and it's led me down this weird rabbit hole of people using AI or dressing up pretending to go to school. They all seem to have high heels, check images in them. Is this an age play thing or something more sinister? Literally anything helps as I keep trying to look for answers. This post was made to the subreddit r/Instagram by the user numerouscut792 on April 15th, 2024. It featured screenshots of 3 bizarre-looking Instagram pages they had encountered earlier that day, with OP expressing concern that something truly disturbing was happening with these users. And those in the thread agreed. What the actual fuck? Found all of them and blocked them all. Truthsticks11 is seriously creepy to me. I've been trying to find more about them but can hardly find anything. Very weird account to say the least. The 3 accounts apparently belong to 3 different children. However, when combing through their posts, the content seems to imply something much more bizarre was afoot. Something truly disturbing.
Çocuklara ait hesaplar var gibi gözüküyor falan diyor da.
This post would be the start of a story that would eventually be picked up and shared all across the online world, becoming one of the more notorious internet mysteries in recent memory, as these accounts revealed an unending rabbit hole that is still being traversed to this very day, in an ongoing investigation into one of the most depraved oddities ever found on Instagram. This is the emerging story of SMARTSCHOOLBOY9.
Bakalım.
1, 2, 3, 4. School. I hope you like these photos.
We'll return after these messages.
Before we get too far down
Şöyle, olay çocuk gibi davranan yetişkinler olduğu söyleniyor. Girişi beni çok çekmedi ama.
I want to first thank today's sponsor, AG1. AG1 is a daily foundational nutrition supplement that supports whole body health.
Eyvallah kardeş. Sponsorluğun hayırlı olsun. Başlıyoruz ilk bölümden.
Beautiful boy, an account looked after by me, a degree-educated mother choosing to stay anonymous. This was the bio of the first account picture.
İlk bulunan hesap muhteşem bir erkek çocuk ve hesap eğitimli bir anne tarafından yönetiliyor. Anonim kalmayı tercih ediyorum diyor.
In the Reddit post, an account named Truthsticks11, which was said to be operated by a 12-year-old boy and his mother.
12 yaşında bir erkek çocuk ve annesi tarafından yönetilen işte Truthsticks11 adlı bir hesaptan bahsediyor.
2021, the duo would make their very first post, kicking things off on a somewhat concerning note, though not for their own page, but instead.
İlk gönderi.
So, that's the account run by a man
Abdullah Çakir.
to be a boy.
The video was created and posted by the mother for the sole purpose of warning others of a specific user who had been posing as a child online when in actuality he was a
Bu adam bir erkek çocuğu gibi davranıyor diyor. Başka çocukların fotoğraflarını kullanıyor. Okay.
grown man who did this in order to get close to and exploit other children across the platform. It's the grim reality of this online world, as predators will do just about anything to get closer to children, and it's a reality
İşte pedofiller çocuklara yaklaşmak için her şeyi yapar diyor.
unrealized or even ignored by parents, which makes it almost refreshing that this mother was out here trying to raise awareness. These posts would become the crux of the account early on. They would call out this user and their many accounts again and again, eventually going more in depth about what this person would actually do, claiming that they had a strange perversion to dressing up as a
Devamlı birilerinin küçük bir erkek çocuğu gibi davrandığı hesaplar açtığından bahsediliyor. Şu ana kadar duyduğum kısmında.
young schoolboy. Does he wish he were a young boy in a school classroom, looking nice and being successful at school? Yes. This theme of calling out online predators would remain consistent throughout.
Ya adam kısaca devamlı adını kendinin koyduğu bir erkek çocuğumuş gibi davranıyor ve Nemenzo'daki men'in işte erkek bir olduğunu anlatan bir terim, bilerek koyulan bir terim olduğunu söylüyormuş. Okay.
Throughout the years on Truthsticks11. However, after some time, the mother behind the account began to use the page for its initially intended purpose, to share photos of her son. The photos began reasonably normal and would show this young boy studying at school,
Oğlunun çocuklarını,
accepting awards
fotoğraflarını
from the
paylaşıyormuş.
principal, and even school presentations in which their son had attended, with the captions often boasting about how intelligent the young boy was.
İşte çocuğunun ne kadar zeki olduğunu söylüyormuş fotoğraflarda. Ama gittikçe fotoğraflar garipleşmeye başlamış. Evet. Evet. Wow. Wow.
They looked off, almost as if they were AI generated. And on top of this,
Korkunç.
they began to appear heavily edited in an almost inexplicable manner, with deep red lipstick often being added, which was enunciated by his face being turned pure white. This unsettling trend would continue from here, as with each passing post,
Tüyler
the
ürpertici.
photos grew less authentic and more surreal. Until they became straight up disturbed.
Gittikçe rahatsız edici olana kadar fotoğraflar bozuldu diyor.
Over past just the images too, as the posts began to appear as disjointed collages, often showcasing multiple grotesque images and paragraphs about how much this user loved school. And this wasn't the only shift either.
Okey. Kullanıcının okulu altyazıyı da okuyayım. Görsellerde devamlı işte fotoğraflar kolajların içinde Tratstix 11 kullanıcısının okulu ne kadar sevdiğini anlatan şeyler içermeye başlamış bir noktadan sonra. Hesap kapatıldı mı acaba? Çok merak ediyorum. Kapatılmıştır bence ya. Yok, hesap kapatılmış, evet. Neyse.
And this wasn't the only shift either. At some point, the son behind the account began posting content that allegedly came directly from him, saying things like, "My really cool mom asked me if I'd like to post, and I said,
bir noktadan sonra da postları çocuk atmaya başlamış.
yes please."
Annem bana post atmak ister misin dedi. Ben de tabii anne, evet tabii anneciğim, evet anneciğim dedim
Shared
diyor.
supposed videos that he had filmed of himself,
Kendinin videolarını paylaştı
were
diyor.
equally as unconvincing as his photos, and
Onlar da-
somehow even more chilling.
Onlar da tüyler ürpertici falan diyor videolarda. Yapay zeka bunlar ya direkt.
The boy even shows off his singing in one of the clips.
Bu ne oğlum? Sınıfta sorulara cevap verebilmek çok havalı falan filan, işte sorulan sorunun benim bildiğim şeyler olması işte daha iyi falan filan, zart zurt. Neyse. Bir şeyler yazıyor yanda.
Though their voice sounds off.
Evet, sesi bir çocuk sesi değil.
The account was overall anomalous and extremely off-putting. And though this content was visually alarming, another aspect made it even more so concerning, as over time, many of the images began to resemble CP, showcasing these fake AI children in
Fotoğraflar gittikçe CP'ye benzemeye başlamış. CP'nin ne olduğunu biliyorsunuz.
explicit positions.
Bu
With their face
karakterler işte gittikçe daha uygunsuz olmayan pozisyonlarda o suratlar olacak şekilde paylaşılmaya
sometimes even
başlamış.
being photoshopped onto scantily dressed adult bodies.
Hatta bu çocuk suratları yetişkin vücutlarına photoshoplanmış falan diyor.
Obvious about the Truth Sticks account, the supposed child behind it is not real. Even in the more passable photos at the very
Evet, bu fotoğrafların arkasındaki çocuk gerçek değil diyor.
beginning, there's
Kesinlikle.
evidence to suggest that these were likely AI as well. And based on the disturbed, borderline illegal content that this page featured, it seemed more than likely that whoever was behind this page was not an innocent mother concerned for the welfare of other children,
Hesabın arkasındakinin normal bir
but
anne
instead,
olmadığı
a
belli ediyor.
predatory individual themselves. And this wasn't their only account. The
Bu da diyor ilk
second page
tek
featured on a
hesap
Reddit
değil diyor.
post belonged to a user named GirlChloe12 and bore striking similarities to Truth Sticks. The page was also supposedly run by a child and monitored by their parent. Bizarrely, they also posted frequently about the dangers of online predators.
Hesapların hepsi işte pedofillerin ne kadar tehlikeli olduğundan bahsediyor ama aslında hepsi de pedofil tarafından yönetiliyor gibi bir şey diyor. Başka bir hesap var diyor. O hesap da aynı şekilde. O hesapta da yine yapay zeka tarafından üretilmiş işte çocuk görselleri var ve o hesapta pedofillere karşı insanları uyarıyor. Ama hesaplar da pedofil.
With the wording of these posts and the editing being essentially the exact same as Truth Sticks, just not as over the top. These two accounts even frequently interacted with each other, thus
Birbirleriyle
providing
de
a substantial link on its own. But by
interak
far the most
ediyorlarmış.
compelling link between these pages is one that is easy to miss at a glance, with that being a blatant obsession with high-heeled mini boots. These shoes were mentioned or shown in virtually every single post made by these two users.
Yüksek, bu arada bir tane gerçek insan fotoğrafı da çıktı. Yüksek Topuklu gibi bir şey dedi ama gittikçe gerici olmaya devam ediyor ya.
Playtime, I'm sometimes running around with my really cool heeled footwear I wear with my uniform. After coming home from school, education...
Evet, yani videodaki varsayımsal erkek çocuğunun işte topuklu giymeye bayılıyorum falan dediği postlar atılıyormuş o erkek çocuğunun şeyinden, ağzından.
...isn't over for the day once the blue blazer, gray jersey, neat tie, white shirt, tailored close-fit gray trousers, and black heeled mini boots are in the wardrobe. No matter what they discussed, school uniforms and mini boots were always a talking point.
Ne konuşurlarsa konuşsunlar diyor. Okul üniformaları ve çizmeler hep bir topikti diyor. Yani
Which
hep bir
adds
konuydu
confirmation
diyor.
to something that is already becoming apparent. This is fetish content.
Evet,
Not
bu
too
bir
unlike
fetiş content'i diyor.
bizarre accounts in the Pipergate rabbit hole. Fetish content centered around children.
Evet.
What makes the Chloe account so disturbing is that AI was seemingly not used, and rather the images seem to be of actual children. Despite this
Ama diyor Chloe hesabında diyor yapay zeka kullanılmamış, fotoğrafların hepsi gerçek üretilmiş diyor. Bu bayağı korkunçmuş ya, fotoğrafların cidden oturup üretildiğini düşününce bir insanın tadı kaçıyor.
disturbing distinction, these two accounts are cut from the same cloth, and all signs point to them being created by the same person. A person who, despite their constant warnings of the dangers of adults pretending to be children online, seems to be doing the exact same thing.
İnternette ya True611 hesabı internette yetişkinlerin çocuk gibi davranmalarının tehlikeleri konusunda insanları uyarırken bir yandan bunu kendisi yapıyormuş. Bunun bir fetiş hesabı olduğunu düşünüyor.
Seems to be doing the exact same thing, as part of some sort of fetish, the extent of which we'll discuss later. But for now, one thing was for certain. These pages were not run by children or their parents. So, who created them? Well, that brings us to our third and final account shown in that initial
Hesapları
post.
kimin yaptı bizi diyor 3. hesaba gösteriyor. Son hesaba gösteriyor.
SmartSchoolboy9 was much
SmartSchoolboy9.
the same as the other two accounts. They warned of online predators, obsessed over high-heeled mini boots and school uniforms, and posed as a child.
Altyazıyı okuyabiliyorsunuz değil mi ya?
Despite clearly not being one. But Smart Schoolboy was different in one key aspect. The person behind the account was pretending to be a child, but they were doing so in a much more apparent manner, as they didn't use AI or stolen images of other kids to form their identity. And instead, they used photos of
Altıma sıçtım.
themselves.
Hasir. Oğlum çok korkunç bu. Oha, hani topuklu giyme fetişi, öğrenci olma fetişi, bir çocuk olma şeyi diyorlar. Bu iki hesapta yapay zeka fotoğrafları veya çocuk fotoğrafları kullanırken Smart Schoolboy 9 hesabının sahibi direkt kendisini bir çocuk gibi tıraş edip makyaj yapıp öğrenci gibi giyiniyor ve o topukluları giyiyormuş. Oha.
In the images
Korkunç.
posted on the account, we see what appears to be a fully grown man, dressed in a schoolboy's uniform. His face is painted pure white and has bright red lipstick. And he's, of course, wearing high-heeled mini boots. Characteristics that were all utilized across the other accounts. Only this time, it was done on himself, as he poses as a child, pretending to go to school, as well as pretending to go through other life events common for preteens.
Çocuk gibi davranıyormuş, okula gidiyor gibi, işte dişine tel taktırmaya gidiyormuş gibi, bir çocuk gibi davranıyormuş adam.
And the photos aren't even the most disturbing part, as the account consists primarily of videos.
Hesapta hep videolar vardı diyor.
Oh. School. Hey, let me know if you like school as well.
The videos are all incredibly off-putting. Some show him arriving home from school.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. School.
Others show him claiming to be on the bus heading towards school.
Yeah.
Bazı videolarda okul servisindeymiş gibi davranırken bazı videolarda okuldan gelmiş gibi davranıyormuş. Bazı videolarda okula gidiyormuş gibi davranıyormuş.
Okay. Yes, I'm on the school bus.
And other videos showing him doing whatever this is.
Bu ne oğlum? Bu ne oğlum?
With these strange sounds and the process of sticking his tongue out appearing to be part of his fetish.
Bu ne oğlum?
As much like the other accounts, his content is overtly sexual, in its own bizarre way. In fact, there's a video of him with his full outfit on, where he shows himself staring into a mirror as he appears to pleasure himself, right out of view of the camera, as he stares into his own eyes.
Yani videoda aynada kendine bakarak 31 çekiyormuş vücudu gözükmeden. Of.
This account is by far the most sickening part of this whole rabbit hole, and also the most important. Interspersed throughout his page are a few examples of what this individual's voice sounds like.
This is quite good.
Which just so happens to be the same voice heard in the very first clip shown on the Truthsticks account.
Man.
Ses Abdullah Çakır hesabı ile ilgili konuşurken nefesim daraldı. Truthsticks 11 hesabında konuşan kadınla bu videodaki adam aynı.
Pretending to be a boy.
Meaning that this full-grown adult man is the one behind this entire rabbit hole. He's the one on these accounts pretending to be a child and their mother, getting some sort of sick satisfaction from whatever this is. And the worst part is, these activities aren't just kept behind closed doors. As we can see on numerous occasions, videos of him walking around outside in a public space, with his full outfit and face paint on.
Dışarıda oğlum midem bulandı. Dışarıda halka açık alanlarda falan da yürüyormuş böyle.
Look at that thing.
It's truly one of the strangest things that I've ever seen, and making sense of what this all is extremely difficult. But based on the information found from this first Reddit post, a few likely conclusions can be put forward. This man is clearly attracted to the idea of being a kid, and I think OP was correct when they speculated that this was some sort of age play thing, but it's also clearly much more than that too. As based on the images that he's created himself, he clearly has some sort of attraction to other children as well, as he's quite literally created faux CP, the likes of which is so disturbing that I can't even really describe it here either. He's creating fetish content, and he's using the likeness of children, and also some children that are clearly very real people, to do so. That much is obvious. But there was also the possibility that he was pretending to be a kid in order to exploit other children across the internet. At this point though, this was merely speculation, with much of the SMARTSCHOOLBOY9 case remaining a mystery, and the rabbit hole was only getting deeper from here.
Abi videonun burasında diyor ki tavşan deliği diyor. Gittikçe diyor derinleşiyor diyor.
Months after this rabbit hole was introduced to the online world, the story began to be shared all across the internet, most notably on the r/internet mysteries subreddit, where the case really took off. There, internet sleuths began uncovering just how vast this web of accounts actually was, as it wasn't just
İnsanlar bu hesaplar ne kadar derine gidiyor diye araştırıyormuş falan.
these 3 pages. No, there seemed to be over a
Bu bile
dozen,
içemiyor.
likely even more that we still haven't found.
Bir sürü
As
de
he's
hesap
created his own
varmış.
sort of community, his own little world, where across each page he pretends to be a child, with these accounts typically following each other and frequently
Stephanie Scully, Stephanie Stansfield.
interacting,
Farklı hesaplar da varmış. Bayağı toplulukmuş bunlar.
seemingly to make these characters appear as though they have real friends. On one of these pages, 12 Stockwell Joanne, he
Bu hesaplardan biri 12 Stockwell
poses
Joanne'de
as a 14-year-old girl,
14
using
yaşında
more
bir kız
AI
gibi
images
davranıyormuş. Çok AI
to
kullanıyormuş
depict
falan.
explicit positions of this
Ve bu işte yapay zeka fotoğraflarıyla çok uygunsuz şeylere
manufactured
koyuyormuş.
child, which I obviously am not going to show here.
Evet,
Though much like his
gösterme.
Chloe account, he also shows images of very real young girls.
Diğer hesapların aksine bu hesap bayağı gerçek kız çocuğu fotoğrafları da
But this isn't the
kullanıyor.
most concerning part of this account, as on numerous occasions he's shown images of children at a playground.
Ve çocukların böyle oyun parklarında fotoğraflarını gösteriyormuş.
Which he may have taken himself.
Kendisinin çektiği.
This fantasy of being a schoolgirl and taking part in these school-centric activities is something carried over throughout multiple of his accounts, with his most common alias being Stephanie, of which he has numerous different accounts featuring that same name.
Bir sürü de Stephanie diye hesap varmış.
Yeah, I'm Stephanie.
This Stephanie character claims to be a 12-year-old aspiring poet, with accounts all across the internet, many of
Bu karakter de şairmiş 12 yaşında,
which
14
showcasing
yaşında.
examples of her poetry, which carries on those same distinct sexual undertones. I race to complete my poems when I've got an early
Şiirini okuyor bir tane. Şiirleri de seksle ilgiliymiş.
start, heart racing, mixed rhythms, maximizing miracles, rice with rap, and on the map, my Kennington, London syllables, dancing though I know my underwear might show if I lean forward.
koyayım ya. Kim dedi abi bu konuyla ilgili video gelirim abi bu konuyu izler misin diye ya. Of.
Good. Stephanie Stansfield, 12. But digging even deeper, her poetry has even seemingly been featured in various articles and even newspapers, showcasing that this rabbit hole extends far past just the online world. This act is clearly their obsession, and he's been doing this for years, with the earliest examples that I could find coming from all the way back in 2018. And this Stephanie character seems to be his go-to alias, embodying it in even the literal sense.
As ya bir de bu mu çıktı ya? Ay ananı bacını s**eyim ya.
As in one of his many pages dedicated to this Stephanie character, he dresses as her, wearing a wig.
Bir de Stephanie oluyormuş bu çocuğu schoolboy ya. Kim dedi bunu izledi ya? Koyun başka içerik mi yok internette ya?
Tends to be a 12-year-old girl.
Yok buraya kadar geldik bitireceğiz arkadaşlar.
Almost immediately after this case began gaining traction, the true magnitude of this rabbit hole was revealed. Across every single account are countless depraved posts and oddities that all could warrant discussion. But by far the most important discoveries were those that didn't actually occur on his own page, and rather the pages of other actual children.
Başka çocukların postlarına şeylerine falan yorum atıyormuş adam.
I do. It is good. You have some cool shirts, but I have to wear school uniforms to school. It is nice, but casual isn't allowed, and it's quite hot here in the UK.
İşte tişörtlerin, gömleklerin güzelmiş. Biz burada okul kıyafeti giymek zorundayız İngiltere'de falan diyor.
June suddenly got warmer. These are two examples out of many that show Smart Schoolboy 9 reaching out and attempting to
devamlı yazıyor
befriend
bak.
young children online. In one comment, he even warns a child about other comments from bad people, stating that, "It happens to most boys in our age group, but stay safe, stay cool, don't be dismayed by creeps." This is our best evidence that these accounts weren't just made for age play. No, he's actually posing as a child in order to make friends with other children. And given his overtly sexual interests and aversion to CP, it's not hard to gather why he was doing this. And these examples are only what we found so far. It's possible that there are dozens, or who knows, maybe even hundreds of other comments out there, hidden on unknown children's accounts. This is predatory behavior. The man behind Schoolboy 9 is a predator. And in case there was still any doubt of whether or not this was a sexual thing, here's what he had to say about being a 13-year-old girl.
Bunu okuyamayacağım arkadaşlar.
But have his tactics actually worked? Well, the frightening thing is, no one knows if he's actually been successful or not, or even what specifically
Adam çocuk avlamak için böyle bir taktik kullanıyormuş.
We just know that he's trying to reach kids, as evidenced not only by his comments, but by the fact that he's
Yok arkadaşlar başladıysak bitireceğiz.
Following children on all of these pages.
Devamlı
and
da
though it's
mı
easy
var
to
ya?
look at these accounts and know that something is off, for children, it's not that simple, especially when there's pages showcasing photos of actual kids. Which brings up another frightening detail. Many of the images he's used of children have not been traced back to their original creator, and some seem to appear for the very first time online publicly.
Diyor ki bazı diyor çocuk fotoğrafları diyor internette de diyor ilk defa gözükmüyor diyor.
Which might mean that he was sent them privately. There's even one image that David posted on his Schoolboy account which shows another kid that he claimed to be on a playdate with.
İşte başka bir çocukla oyun oynamaya çıktığıyla ilgili bir fotoğraf falan.
Though it's impossible to say if this is real or not. For now, we just don't know for sure. Though given the fact that he's reaching out to children, posting fetish content centered around children, and has even potentially photographed kids in the wild, one thing is for certain. Smart Schoolboy 9 needs to be stopped.
Evet, durdurulması gerekiyor bence de.
Finding this man and reporting him to law enforcement quickly became the top priority.
İşte herkesin ana hedefi bu adamı yakalayıp raporlamak olmuş.
And luckily, he left several glaring clues behind that made this process a whole lot
Birkaç
easier.
tane onu yakalayacak şey bırakmış
On numerous occasions
arkasında.
across his many pages, he would post images and videos of specific locations, even showing streets and mentioning very particular areas in his poems, all of which centered around the London area, immediately giving us an idea of where he was located.
İngiltere'de
And that
ama.
wasn't all. I mentioned how the alias of Stephanie was one that he used more so than any other, but what's interesting is that there was another name used just as often across his accounts, brought up time and time again, though it's a name that he never seemed to call any of his characters. Instead, he simply referred to this person as a stepbrother or a father, or even
Biri varmış ondan da ve erkek kardeş ya da baba diye
from
bahsediyormuş.
school,
İşte
despite
neyse.
never actually picturing him. Just
Birinin bahsettiği birileri var ve hiç fotoğrafı yok. Herkesin
mentioning his
fotoğrafı
name.
olmasına rağmen.
David.
David diye biri.
And sure enough, after connecting a few dots, it would be revealed that this person's actual name was in fact David.
Tamam, David kendiymiş.
David Alter. With a
David
man
Alter,
being
59
59
yaşında.
years old. At the moment, it doesn't appear that David has any past criminal convictions or documented history of this behavior, but we do know that thanks to the investigation done on Reddit and Discord, he is currently being investigated by local authorities,
polisler
which will hopefully put an end to
inceliyormuş.
his online behavior and shine some more light on who this person actually is. As for the time being, the only other information that we really know about David is that he likes to write poetry and he makes music.
Müzik yapıyormuş ve şiir yazmayı seviyormuş. Ay ananı bacını s**eyim ya.
I think I hear a running tram going back in time. Not Anne.
And his name also appears in a random
Running tram.
And his name also appears in a random newspaper, where he's
Gazetelerde
discussing
falan da
the
adı gözüküyormuş.
importance of kids wearing school uniforms.
Gazetelerde işte çocukların okula gidip gelmesiyle ilgili de şeyler yazıyormuş. İşte okul üniformalarının okula gidip gelme noktasında ne kadar önemli olduğuyla ilgili şeyler falan.
And that's really all we have at the moment. Though there is one very important aspect that we have yet to talk about in relation to this man, with that being David's mental state. Some believe that David is a mentally unwell individual who potentially doesn't know the extent of what they are doing. Now, even if this is the case, his behavior still needs to be stopped, and he needs to be given proper help to assure that no one else gets hurt by his actions. But it is important to note that David is far more intelligent than he lets on, as his personal
Evet,
account
herif
shows that
zeki
he
bayağı.
is fairly well-spoken and articulate. And throughout his problematic content, most of his bad grammar and strange verbiage seems to be his attempts at more authentically trying to
İşte adam diyor belki diyor bir akıl hastalığına sahip olabilir ama diyor adamın bence diyor çok zeki olduğunu kabul etmekte fayda var diyor. Çünkü diyor adam bilerek hatalı yazıyormuş. Adam bazı şeyleri bilerek yapıyormuş vesaire vesaire yani. Adam bazı şeyleri işte yazım hatalarını bilerek yapıyormuş çocuk gibi gözükmek için falan filan.
replicate a child, but it's impossible to know for sure. But what we do know is that David is extremely manipulative, with his response to the situation and other clues littered across his accounts showing us that he seems to know what he's doing.
Ne
And he
yaptığını
knows that it's wrong.
yaptığı adamla konuşmuşlar sanırım. Adam yaptığı şeyin yanlış olduğunu, kötü olduğunu falan da biliyormuş.
Since the exposure of David's accounts, he hasn't silently slithered away like most other predators would. Instead, he's actually responded on more than a few
Herif diyor ki yani şey işte internette ifşa olduktan sonra diğer petler gibi kaçıp saklanmak yerine bayağı oturup konuşmuş milletle.
occasions, lashing out to those who have DM'd him, calling them the perverts and predators.
Yazan
He even
herkese pet diyormuş. Kendine yazan herkese. Çocuk olduğu için. Çocuk olduğuna inandığı için.
left a comment on his Joanne account seemingly directed at himself, writing, "You are really sad. And if that's your name, David, be honest with yourself. You're
Yan hesabından kendine kötü yorumlar
As you
yazıyormuş.
said elsewhere, you reply to me, a girl, as if I'm your buddy? No chance ever." This is something David does all the time. It's projection. And it
Kendiyle
started
kavga
all the way
ediyormuş.
back at the beginning of this rabbit hole.
So, that's the account
Abdullah Çakır da mı kendisi çıktı?
run by a man pretending to be a boy.
And he continued posting these predator exposés, along with other warnings about predators on the internet across
Paylaştığı, ifşaladığı tüm petler de kendiymiş aslında. Gerçekten.
every page he made, each of which being hyper-specific to his own predatory ways and fetishes. The things he accuses others of are blatant projections of his own dark vices. And I can think of two reasons why. Number one, that this makes his account look safer to other parents and children. It gives the appearance that he's not another internet creep because he's actively calling them out. It's a way to build trust in order to befriend and exploit kids. And number two, he knows what he's doing is wrong. And this is his bizarre way of self-reporting, probably to make himself feel better about what he's doing. And it's obvious based on just how
Altyazıları
accurate
okuyun,
these claims
çeviremeyeceğim.
against others are to him. Does he wish he were a young boy in a school classroom, looking nice and being successful at school? Yes. And these claims are made over and over again, as each time he calls someone out, he's further exposing himself. which becomes more concerning when you realize that these projections seemingly aren't strictly pedophilic. Within those eerily familiar expose posts he made on TruthSticks11, he mentions how this user not only wanted to exploit children online, but they wanted to kill them as well.
Ya of, raporladığı Abdullah Çakır hesabı var ya, kendine ait olan. Eleman yaptığı şeyin yanlış ve kötü olduğunu bildiği için, işte vicdan yapmamak için falan kendi fake hesaplarını da ifşalıyor diyorlar. İşte Abdullah Çakır ifşalamasının sebebinin bu olduğunu söylüyor. Abdullah Çakır ifşalarken de Abdullah Çakır'la ilgili diyor ki adam diyor sadece diyor değil diyor. Aynı zamanda çocukları öldürmek istiyor diyor. Kanibalizm de var diyor. Hani insan yemek. Öyle diyor. Anlatamıyorum arkadaşlar. İşte bir ritüeli yapıyormuş falan.
As he mentions that this user has a clear interest in cannibalizing kids and even performing ritualistic sacrifices on them.
Evet, yani hem kanibalistik şeyler varmış herifin, yani işte yemek, işte yamyamlık, hem de yamyamlığın dışında da ritüeller yaparak kurban vermeyi.
And based on how accurate all of the other exposures are to himself, I have no reason to believe that this isn't part of his MO as well, as crazy as that may sound. This also seems to coincide with some of the content he's posted that I can't show you. As some of these photos show children edited in contorted positions, including some where
çocukların bazılarını işte çarpık durumlarda gösteriyor
added what
fotoğraflar
appears to
diyor.
be rope to give the illusion that they're tied up. And what makes this even more disturbing is that on his accounts, he's posted numerous photos in the vicinity of schools, on nearby
Okulların fotoğraflarını
secluded
çekiyormuş.
trails, and even some where he discusses what time school starts and ends,
Okulların kaçta başlayıp
saying
kaçta
that he likes
bittiğini
to
de
be
yazıyormuş.
awake and ready for it.
Kalkıp gidiyormuş.
There's even photos that show other children
Okula giden
outside
çocukların
from a
fotoğrafını
distance,
çekiyormuş.
almost as if David was stalking them. This is highly concerning. Even if we don't know truly how low this man's perversions get, he is still far too close to children, which is perfectly encapsulated by this photo of him on a school playground during the day. And with his disturbing desires, I don't even want to imagine what he's capable of. Which brings us to the final piece of content that I need to talk about. Chasing another boy running in heeled mini boots.
Başka bir çocuğu topukluyla kovalama.
This was the text shown on screen during a short video posted onto one of David's many accounts. And in the video, we see the man pointing the camera at himself, showing his full face of white makeup and red lipstick. This video is edited more egregiously than any others I've seen across his page, with multiple explicit images and huge emojis covering the majority of the screen. Though just barely enough of the footage can be seen that shows David as he turns the camera around, revealing a young boy.
Kamerayı çevirince bir çocuğu kovalıyor amına.
Who he then proceeds to chase after, giggling all the while.
Gülerek.
Whether this was an edited video or a real occurrence, we don't currently know. David's doings are a mystery that will take some time to unravel, and my hope is that law enforcement will be able to follow through and help shed some more light on this individual, and finally put an end to his twisted behavior. But at this point, only one thing is for sure. The story of SMARTSCHOOLBOY9 is far from over.
Her şey polislere iletilmiş. Birkaç haftadır polisler inceliyormuş meseleyi. Çok kötü oldum. Çok kötü, çok zordu bunu izlemek. O midem bulanıyor. Çok kötü midem bulanıyor ya.